My name is Adriana Stovelsma, and this is the Legend of the Lorelei. The best known invention of the Lorelei was invented by Clemens Brent in about 1801. The story of the Lorelei dates back to the 1200s, when many believed that there was treasure buried at the foot of the Lorelei rock, guarded by her beautiful figure. Lorelei was one of these beautiful Rhine maidens that sat along the river, says oak.org. So, according to legend, she lured sailors and navigators to the river to their doom, with her alluring singing, much like sirens of Greek mythology. Storytelling in fairy tales in the Germanic culture, known as Märchen, is a very valued and loved tradition. It is orally shared, and it can be traced back to a collection of about 210 stories collected and published by the Grimm brothers just shortly after 1801. While they didn't come up with these stories themselves, they traveled all across countries to listen to storytellers, priests, and tribal leaders in order to gain their collection. So fairy tales and fables and Märchen teach us about society, class, relationships, good and evil, vices, virtues, and all of those other lessons. And the less known story of the Lorelei, in particular, has many themes, and what I saw of them being death and sorrow. While this is difficult to see the worldview and depth behind this, I found that Lorelei lured these men to their deaths because she had lost the love of her life to the sea. And so this means that although one is beautiful and charismatic and lovely on the outside, does not mean that they're hurting on the inside. So the story of Lorelei goes something like this. A long time ago, Lorelei's love had went out to sea on a ship for a trip, and he never returned to her. She waited and waited for months with no word, letters, or anything. And she had come to terms that she would never see him again. She was absolutely heartbroken, and eventually she soon turned bitter and resentful of the cruel and greedy sea that took her love away from her. A long, narrow canal on the side of this tall, green mountain was the only way for boats to enter the Bay of the Rhine. And sailors had to be very careful when navigating the canal, since it was so shallow and filled with dangerous and sharp shoals. And so one beautiful evening, red, orange, yellow, and pink skies painted the sky, and sailors on this particular boat had rounded the mountain and started along the canal. They heard beautiful songs, and they were curious as to where it was coming from. They looked along the shore, and they were searching and wondering where this noise and beautiful song was coming from. And while they were all distracted, they all leaned over the side of the boat, abandoning their posts on the ship and what they have to do in order for the boat to sail successfully through the narrow canal. And so they looked along the side of the boat to search for the maiden that cast such a beautiful song. They all saw Lorelei, this beautiful woman, draped in cloth, sheer cloth draping her beautiful, beautiful blonde hair that she twirled with and played as she sung her beautiful song. And this song she set on a large rock on the shore of the canal, and all the men peered over the boat to watch her sing and play with her hair and her alluring figure on the rock. The men lost all track of time. Her singing completely overwhelmed them and took them over. And the boat started to go adrift, and the men didn't notice until it was too late. Their boat started to run ashore and crash and scrape along the shallow rocks and shoals of the canal. The wood cracked and splintered and shot about, crushing the ship until eventually it was in ruins and sunk, leading every sailor to their untimely death. Lorelei watched this from her rock, very pleased with herself, and the sea had been cruel and taken her love away from her, so she swore to do the same thing, knowing that if the sea took her love, it should take the lives and love of others with it. And the Lorelei, as legend holds, continues to sit on her rock, awaiting for ships to run the mountain and sail into the canal in pursuit of her next victim.